Biggest hits in football history. The sport of football is a game that requires speed, strategy, and physical power. Certain tackles have become famous throughout the history of the sport, either because of the sheer impact they had, the controversy they caused, or the way they altered the game. Players were left speechless after being hit by some hits, while others generated concerns about player safety and adjustments to the rules. Let's take a look at some of the most significant hits in the history of football, ranging from tough, clean tackles to disputed blows that completely changed the ballgame. In 1985, Lawrence Taylor's career came to an end with a hit that was directed by Joe Theismann. A hit that is considered to be among the most notorious in the history of the National Football League took place on November 18, 1985, during a Monday Night Football game between the Washington Redskins, now known as the Commanders, and the New York Giants. Lawrence Taylor, a legendary linebacker, was responsible for delivering a sack to quarterback Joe Theismann, which resulted in one of the most severe injuries that the sport has ever witnessed. Although Taylor's hit was not dirty, Theismann's leg was hooked beneath him in such a way that it produced a complex fracture which ultimately led to the end of his career. Because the sound of the injury was so horrifying, several broadcasters decided not to rebroadcast it after it had already occurred. This hit became a prime example of how hazardous football can be, which led to discussions over whether or not there should be better protection for quarterbacks. In the year 2006, Sheldon Brown annihilates Reggie Bush. Between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints in the National Football Conference divisional playoff game in 2006, one of the most devastating hits in the history of the modern National Football League occurred. During the early stages of the game, Saints running back Reggie Bush grabbed a swing throw and turned upfield, only to be instantly confronted by Eagles CB Sheldon Brown. A textbook helmet-to-chest tackle was made by Brown, which sent Bush flying backward throughout the game. Even though the hit was legal, it was so severe that it was difficult for Bush to get back up on his feet. To this day, it is still considered to be one of the most clean and powerful hits that the game has ever witnessed, and it is frequently featured in highlight reels. The next hit on the list is Jack Tatum's hit on Darryl Stingley, 1978. In what is still considered to be one of the most devastating incidents in the history of the National Football League, safety Jack Tatum of the Oakland Raiders delivered a hit to wide receiver Darryl Stingley of the New England Patriots, which resulted in Stingley being crippled for the rest of his life. Stingley was running a regular crossing route during a preseason game in 1978 when Tatum, who was known for his aggressive style of play, struck him with a high and brutal hit. Tatum was known for his aggressive style of play. Stingley was rendered paralyzed from the neck down as a result of the accident, which compressed his spinal cord. Even though it was legal at the time, this hit contributed to rising concerns regarding player safety, which ultimately led to more stringent rules barring hits that were made without defense. Isaiah Robertson is killed when Earl Campbell runs over him in the year 1978. There are occasions when a running back is the one who administers the punishment in football. Not all of the most significant hits come from defenders. Earl Campbell, a prominent player for the Houston Oilers and one of the most powerful rushers in the history of the National Football League, delivered a hit in 1978 that fans continue to speak about to this day. Isaiah Robertson, a linebacker for the Los Angeles Rams, was the target of Campbell's bruising running style, which he took after receiving a handoff and then racing directly at him. Instead of evading, Campbell lowered his shoulder and rammed through Robertson, sending him flying backward. Robertson fled in the opposite direction. This moment became the epitome of a running back dominating defense and becoming the paradigm for the entire sport. The hit that Cam Chancellor made on Demaryius Thomas at the 2014 Super Bowl LV-8. When Seattle Seahawks safety Cam Chancellor lay out Denver Broncos receiver Demaryius Thomas during Super Bowl LV-8, it had the potential to be one of the most devastating hits in recent history. Chancellor's hit early in the first half of the game set the tone for the rest of the game, which was already turning out to be a nightmare for the Broncos. The collision between Chancellor and Thomas, which occurred as Thomas was catching a pass over the middle, caused Thomas to fall to the ground. Thomas was shaken by the blow, which was completely legal but so powerful that it left him shaken. This particular moment served as a representation of the Seahawks' Legion of Boom defense, which dominated their way to a victory by a score of 43-8. In 2009, Ray Lewis made a head-on collision with Darren Sproles. Ray Lewis, a legendary player for the Baltimore Ravens, was known for delivering some of the most punishing hits in the history of the National Football League. His tackle on Darren Sproles, a running back for the San Diego Chargers, in 2009 was no exception to this rule. In the fourth quarter, when the game was on the line, Sproles received a handoff on a play that was extremely important on the fourth down. Lewis broke through the gap and delivered a big blow just as he was about to reach the line of scrimmage, which caused him to stop completely in his tracks. Not only did the play ensure that the Ravens would win the game, but it also solidified Lewis's status as one of the most feared tacklers in the sport of football. The Pro Bowl hit that Sean Taylor delivered to Brian Moorman in the year 2006. The Pro Bowl is typically a game that is played with a humorous and laid-back atmosphere with no contact between players, but Sean Taylor did not get the memo. Brian Moorman, a punter for the Buffalo Bills, attempted to fake a punt and rushed upfield during the 2006 Pro Bowl. However, he was met by a crushing hit from Taylor. Moorman was knocked down by Taylor with such force that the punter was thrown around in the air. Even though it was an exhibition game, Taylor's fiercely competitive spirit and brutal hit became famous, demonstrating that no player was immune from his savagery on the field. James Harrison's brutal hit on Mohamed Massaquoi 2010. Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker James Harrison was one of the most feared defenders of his time, known for his aggressive play style. In a 2010 game against the Cleveland Browns, Harrison delivered a crushing hit on wide receiver Mohamed Massaquoi that would later become a turning point for NFL safety rules. As Massaquoi ran a crossing route, Harrison lowered his shoulder and delivered a devastating blow to his head, knocking him out of the game. Though legal at the time, the hit was so violent that it helped spark changes to helmet-to-helmet contact rules, with the NFL later fining Harrison $75,000. This moment is often cited when discussing the league's shift toward protecting players from concussions. Jadeveon Clowney's hit of the century 2013 Outback Bowl. One of the most famous college football hits in history came from Jadeveon Clowney while playing for the University of South Carolina. In the 2013 Outback Bowl against Michigan, Clowney delivered what many call the hit of the century. After a blown call gave Michigan an undeserved first down, Clowney took matters into his own hands. On the very next play, he exploded through the offensive line and obliterated Michigan running back Vincent Smith, knocking his helmet off and forcing a fumble in a single motion. The play instantly became legendary, solidifying Clowney's status as a top NFL prospect and replayed endlessly as one of the hardest, cleanest hits ever recorded. What do you consider to be the most difficult hit throughout history? Your ideas are welcome in the comments section. To receive additional football analysis, make sure to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe to this channel immediately.